Hey guys, it's Gareth on Pew. Welcome back. After about a year's hiatus of me sitting down, talking with a microphone, and actually making a video on the GPC. We're back with Season 9. Uploads aren't mandatory, don't expect them every week, and don't expect particularly high quality. But, I feel like I've got the time this week, and I've also got the opportunity to just sit down and record, which is a nice little change. Week 1 against Bob and Fishy. Same kind of format as last year, not different tiers, just standard stuff. Against Bob and Fishy, he's one of my division opponents, as is the case for the first 4 weeks. But yeah, matchup wise, definitely in my favour, I'd argue, just because of how the speed tiers line up. Outside of Galvantula and Mega Aero, he really doesn't have much in terms of speed. Sticky Worms, of course, being a thing, but outside of that, everything is pretty slow. And a lot of my mons that slightly outspeed his base 80s and base 88, I believe, for Rotamo. Anything that's over 90 really can abuse that. So things like, in this case, Nihilego, Mianxiao, Pyro, all of them came. Thunderous T could have been one, and Latios as well. But I felt in the matchup the ones that I brought were more valuable. As for what is threatening to me, Hoopas, of course, can punch through holes in any team, really. The fact that it can be both special and physical is absolutely terrifying. Gudra can be a threat, but I have plenty of ways to wear it down. It's just a matter of not letting it do its thing too consistently. Buzzwole, I feel, is a great stop to a lot of my physical threats. I expect bulk upset, because if he's sub bulk up, it can completely abuse Powdon. I can bring it in, he gets a free sub, and there's no real way for me to break it. And it's a good way to bait a Toxic or any other kind of status ailment. That's the word I was looking for. Mega Arrow can be threatening, although I do have basically a hard counter in Hippowdon, but Home Claws Aquatail is a thing, and it can do damage, so it can be brought. I'd say his most likely 6 are Hoopas, Skarmory, Florges. Skarmory and Florges mainly for Latios and Bulu, just straight hard countering. Gudra as well to deal with things like Thunderous T and Pyro. Those top 4 are definitely coming. After that, I expect Buzzwole, and then one of either Mega Aero or Galvantula, more than likely. I don't see Alolan Marowak coming in this matchup. Gentacruel can, Rotamo can, but I'd say those 7 are the most likely. So I'll quickly go over the team that I decided to build for today. So as you can see, this is the team. Starting off first and foremost with this Choice Specs Pyro. This just punches a hole through his team. Once Gudra's out the way, he has literally 0 switch-ins to a Choice Specs Fire Blast. And once again, with his speed tiers, I can go modest without any worry. The only things that can outspeed this, barring Scarfus, of course, is Galvantula and what was it called? Mega Aero. Either one of which, I mean, Galvantula with this HP spread can't kill me. A Mega Aero I wouldn't stay in on anyway. Toxic is there for the Gudra and also Mega Aero should it come. Fire Blast, of course, the most spammable move. Hyper Voice is just good stab coverage. And even though, yes, I could have gone for grass coverage, if they did bring Tentacruel, it would have been pretty useless. So I felt like going for a second fire move just in case I needed to get, didn't want to miss. And I could lock myself into it safely, then Flamethrower is always an option as well. Giannis, the Mega Scizor, who'd have thought it? I've drafted another Mega Scizor team. Pretty much the set that you'd see most often on a defensive Mega Scizor with Bullet Punch, U-Turn, Roost, and Defog. Obviously, you can run things like Tailwind and Sword Stance sometimes to catch people off guard, which I have done in the past, but Cookie Cutter, 4 moves, Spadef with Impish. Impish is mainly there just to chew up things from, Buzzwole a bit better. But Spadef is very, very important in case he's got a special attacking Hoopas. So this is like a decent pseudo check to it as long as he doesn't have HP fire. It's just that sponge hits from a lot of things on his team that can't hit it super effectively. Now we have one of the biggest threats to his team, Choice Scarf Nihilego. As I said before, I can abuse the speed tiers here, so I can afford to go modest. And literally nothing barring a Scarf Galvantula can outspeed this. So if it gets to a later point in the game and I can spam Power Gems or Sludge Waves, there's not really too much he can do. I would expect something like an AV Gudra to be his main stop to this, probably with Earthquake, but once more, it's hard for him to break through this and to avoid being totally swept. Then we have Paul Denson, the Jellicent. I'll leave you to Google who that person is because it's actually quite a funny story behind that name, but I'm not going to bore you with it now. Will-O-Wisp is going to be huge this game for Buzzwole, for Mega Aero, for Hooper. It's just really good to have on the potential switching. I did feel like Taunt was necessary against some of his slower mons, even though this doesn't outspeed Skarmory. I was tempted to invest into speed to outspeed it and taunt it, but the main issue with that was I needed the extra bulk to attempt to wall Buzzwole, which is the main thing that this is here for. Recover for longevity is expected, and Scald is just general good stab against his team. Outside of Tentacruel, he doesn't really have a good switch into it. If he does bring Rotomo, of course, that's always an option, but the things that I expect him to bring don't potentially appreciate Scald. So it's a decent bring in this particular situation. And then we're going over another one that abuses speed here. We've got a bulk up Mienshao. So again, barring Mega Aero and Galvantula and Scarfers, this outspeeds everything. The Cobo Berry that is there to either abuse Skarmory or, again, if he brings Mega Aero, to abuse that. After one bulk up, High Jump Kick kills either of those, barring Sturdy on Skarm. If he's a faster Buzzwole, Aerial Ace is a potential Oko after one bulk up, and if not, I could shoot any one hit barring Adamant Band, or Adamant plus boosting item rather. I think Super Power with my HP investment doesn't kill. I'm not 100% on that, I can't remember exactly. Knockoff was there for whatever his ghost type was, I've already forgotten. Either way, Knockoff was just general good coverage. I should have gone Poison Jab in hindsight for Florges, but I mean, +1 High Jump Kick, Reckless, it's going to hurt it anyway. I just felt like this particular set wasn't going to be something you expected. I was tempted by Band as well, but I like the freedom switch up moves in case he did have a bulk up Buzzwole, which I was very, very scared of, as you'll see with the next thing that I've built. We have a Rindo Berry Hibaudon. It's, pretty normal, something you'd expect. It's a good way for me to check Galvantula, Spadef, Rindo Berry, pretty standard. Southbox Slack Off, just normal. Rock Slide because it's got an Aero, Buzzwole. It's just better coverage than Earthquake. And then HP Flying. I don't want this to be set up fodder from Buzzwole. HP Flying is a 2-hit KO, and it means that it can't safely set up sub against me. I didn't really need a fourth move there. Ice Fan could have been useful, or something along the lines of Toxic or another status. But with me having both Willow and Toxic already on the team, it did feel necessary. Yeah, I just thought if that is something he'd bring, he certainly wouldn't expect HP Flying, and it's also a good way for me to check it regardless. So similar sort of spread to the Scizor where it's fully Spadef, but I get more out of the Impish than I would going Calm. Is it Calm or Careful, the one that reduces special attack? Whichever of the two it is, I get more out of the Impish just because of how stats work in this game. So I felt like, this was a good way to check a lot of his threats. Similar to Scizor, it's not designed to be any one thing, but it's just there to sponge hits from as much as it can. So without further ado, we'll move on to the battle. And you can see the team that he decided to bring. Now, as predicted, he's got the Skarmory, the Gudra, the Hooper, and the Buzzwole. Florges was also something I expected, and the Galvantula, which was always an option, so nothing too surprising there. As for lead matchups, I really expected Galvantula lead. I feel like for this particular team setup that he's brought, he needed webs up because he doesn't have the Aero. His only fast thing is the Galvantula. So I really, really expected that, which is why I decided to lead with my Mega Scizor. Although I was tempted to go with Mienshao just for pressure's sake, or even to go for Pyro just to start nuking things. But I was kind of fearful of a Gudra lead, so as you'll see when we hop into the game, he does lead with Gudra, which is one of the things that I was fearing. I know for a fact this is running a fire move. I'm not going to risk it, go straight out into my jelly, as I can sponge the hit comfortably. He doesn't really know what he wants to do, or what I want to do in particularly, so I go for the Willow just for a, safe play. Nothing can sponge the burn. And I know for a fact he's going for rocks or spikes here, so I just go straight out into Pyro. I can pressure anything here. And my initial thought is he's going Gudra, so I click Toxic, just right off the bat, making predictions, knowing it's going to happen. It was an obvious switch. It's one way for me to start pressuring it. Go straight out into Hippo. I expect the Draco Meteor here. It's probably the best thing I have to sponge it, and it's something that even if he does more than I expect, I can slack off, potentially switch around it. As you can see, that damage indicates that it's more than likely an AV. It's certainly not boosted, so I can just freely slack off that damage. I was very tempted to Rock Slide here, just to get some chip off on this, but I wasn't going to start messing around with it. I can just go straight out into Scizor and start pressuring his team. He goes through aromatherapy, did not expect that, but it's a good bring against my team. I do have a lot of status users, so I can understand why he decided to bring it. Sandstorm stopping his leftovers recovery is kind of important, and I knew that something was going to come here that there's no way he's staying in, so I click U-turn, get the free switch off on this Skarmory, and I go straight out into Mienshao. The reason why I did this over Pyro was because this pressures everything on his team, whereas Pyro only pressures... Pyro guarantees a switch out into Gudra. The Cobra Berry plus the bulk up means I chew this Brave Bird, and now this is in range of a high jump kick. Everything, including Buzzwole, now is in range of high jump kick plus coverage move, or in the case of Florges, 2 high jump kicks. I need this around to kill the Gudra, so there's no way I'm leaving it on the Galvantula, and as I said before, my Hippowdon is designed to chew anything this has, Spadef, Rindo Berry, pretty straightforward. This is a free opportunity for me to set up my rocks. I believe that's what I do. No, I go for Rock Slide, expecting a switch into Galvantula or Buzzwole, I believe. Not Galvantula, Gudra or Buzzwole. Yeah, that was pretty much my plan. At this point, I think I might have expected him to go for Sticky Webs and want to damage off. There I expected Florges to predict the Scizor, either switch out or go for HP Fire, which he does show to have, and it was a free switch out into my Nihilego. I go for Sludge Wave to scout for damage, this is AV, and I get a Poison. That's very unlucky for him, because with the Sandstorm and the Poison, it wears him down a lot, and it means that I can freely start to pressure him. He doesn't really have an option here in terms of the way that what his Gudra does is basically dead, and there's no way for it to recover here. Two things that those turns showed me is that he isn't a negative attack nature, and he's got a bit of investment to outgo Nihilego with Earthquake, based on the damage on my Scizor, and the attack previously on Hippowdon showed that he was a plus special attack nature. So to me that tells me he's either minus defense or Spadef, which he doesn't want in this case because it's a Gudra, so it's got to be minus speed, and in which case my Mega Scizor should outpace it. So I feel safe going for the U-turn, and plus if I do go for the Bullet Punch and he switches out, it's less than ideal. So U-turn was probably my best play. If he did stay in and go for, I don't know, whatever move he's got, Flamethrower or whatever, it gives me a free opportunity to Beast Boost with Nihilego anyway. So it was a safe play regardless. And as you can tell, he is slower, so I made that read. It was a pretty safe play overall. I had plenty of options even if it didn't pan out. I decide to go into Pyro because at this point he doesn't have any switch-ins, and he goes out into Buzzwole. I mean, press the wrong button there. Let's just get back to it. I stayed in for the simple fact that I wanted to scout the Scarf. If he was bluffing it and I switched out into something and he gets set up a sub for free, it could have been problematic, especially because my main switch-ins are things that can't necessarily break a sub outside of Jellicent. In hindsight, Jellicent was a safer play. I should have really switched out into that. But I wanted to scout the Scarf. It's a good way for me to sort of read his set, and at this point, Pyro is kind of expendable. It doesn't Oko Hooper. It can't really thwart Galvantula if it's speedy, and obviously if it's a Scarf, then it's of no real use. So it was expendable. Sadly, not doing much this week, but you know, it was nice to see it come. He gets the Beast Boost. I go straight out into Jellicent. I can take any +1 hit this has, and because it's locked into Earthquake, I feel pretty safe. His obvious switch would be Galvantula, so I go for the safe Will-O-Wisp in case he does stay in. I miss it on the Galvantula. It doesn't really matter. The chip would have been nice, but I'm not too worried about it. I fully expect the webs here. I could get a basically safe switch into my Mega Scissor. I can chew anyone hit. This has the SPDF investment allows me to do that, and defog is a pretty safe option here. Any hit that this goes for, as long as it's not boosted, I can take. I know for a fact that it's not boosted, so I can just stay in and roost up. This is why I went impish. It's extra stats, it's really useful. Here I expect the switch. Second roost was an obvious play. I go for the U-turn, get a crit. There's a bit of hacks going back and forth. The poison, the crit, and then the Will-O-Wisp, but they don't really matter. This one, on the other hand, does. That thunder damage would have done about 40-ish% to me, and you'll soon see why that could be important. So it goes out into his Hooper. My first, I know for a fact I can't kill this. I only do about 50 to 60%, and I'm fully expecting a Psy Shock, or in the case that it's physical, like a Zen Headbutt or whatever coverage moves it gets. I don't know whether it gets Psycho Cut. I'm not overly familiar with Hooper U. I'm just scared of whatever move this has. Safe place to go and tip out on just to see what it's got, and it means I can set up Sand if it is special. Shows Dark Pulse, no psychic coverage, shows that it's special. I'm more than happy with that. It means that my Nihilego is now kind of safe to do its own thing to it. He goes for the Energy Ball there. For a second I thought I'd live with the Rindo Berry, but sadly that wasn't the case. I don't believe it was a roll. I think I just died regardless. It would have been nice to get Rock Slide damage up, but it doesn't really matter. Here I go, Sizzle. Simple fact that I wanted to see whether this was mixed or whether it was locked into any particular move as well. It'd be nice to know whether it's Specs, Scarf, that kind of thing. Even though the damage on Hippo was telling of it not being Scarf, it could be Banded, it could be whatever, and he could have been predicting a switch. So it's just nice to scout out the set, and as long as he doesn't have HB Fire, or Fire Punch, I can take any one hit. It was safe to go for a U-turn here, regardless of what he switched into, and as you'll see, he does reveal the HB Fire. So I know basically what his set is now. I forget, I think I go into Nihilego here, or I might go into Mienshao, I can't remember exactly. I go into Mienshao to try and get damage off on literally anything on his team. Goes out into a Buzzwole. I go for the knockoff, taking off his Scarf. Knockoff was a safe play because it allowed me to find out what the item was on the Hooper. If it was Assault Vest, it could take 2 hits from Nihilego, not just the one. So it was one way for me to ensure that I could, deal with it as and when. And if he did go into Buzzwole or Florges, it removed a potential resist berry, or in the case of the Buzzwole, the Scarf, so it was less for me to worry about. And it means that I can get a free aerial ace off and get some solid damage. Him switching out from Hooper shows me that he's not particularly bulky. He's probably a faster spread because he was scared of the high jump kick. If he was bulkier, he could have taken it. So in my mind, I'm safe to go into Nihilego and just click Sludge Wave now. It kills this, it's higher base damage on the Hooper, and it's super effective against Florges. So get my Beast Boost. As you'll see, he brings out into the Hooper. If he does have Zen Headbutt or Psycho Cut, I'm dead. As you can see by that damage, he's definitely a speedy one, not too fast, and he shows Dark Pulse, so no coverage for this. And I'm free to just clean up the game with Nihilego. Nihilego getting 4 kills this week, showing its worth as one of the members of my team for this season. Really liking it as an option, and I've got to say the pairing with Hippowdon and Mega Scizor in particular is looking really, really promising. So there it goes. GG to Bob. It was unfortunate. The Thunder, if it did hit, was a roll to do up to 48%. I believe the minimum was 43, maximum was 51. So it was kind of in my favour, but there's always the option for a paralysis as well. So the miss was unfortunate. It probably wouldn't have mattered in the end, but you can never really tell. It's sort of like you're just theory modding at that point. So I do apologise for the hacks. I know what it's like to be a receiver of it. We've all been there. So yeah, week 1, first win, decent start to the season. So I haven't played a league game in a little while. There was some rust there, as you could tell, throwing away mons kind of willy-nilly at times. Things like the Mienshao and the Pyro I could have probably preserved, and Scizor I played a little bit riskily as well. I felt like it was to serve for the Nihilego cleanup, just allowing and enabling that, just making sure that it was a possible thing. So in the end, going 2-0 when it could have been slightly high differential, I feel, is a worthy sacrifice just to ensure the victory. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. No real edits, no real layout today. It's just a basic video. I expect more things like this. I might do a bit more of editing in the future, but this is, as it stands, the only time I've got really. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.